news bulletins, Newslink, educative and informative programs, and lots more. West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM. It's you speak.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to the third edition of Newslink. Here are the top stories. Cote d'Ivoire's ruling party criticizes opposition Gbagbo over Ouattara's fourth term bid.
By engaging in defiance against the institutions of the Republic and subtly inciting their supporters to commit acts of disorder and violence with the sole aim of preventing the holding of the election.
Ghana police serves notice to deal with troublemakers during next month's by-election in Akwatia.
We are very confident, and what Ghanaians will see, they will know that yes, there's no fear for Akwatia. I told the political parties that this will be one of the best.
Senegalese government defends national ICC judge targeted by U.S. sanctions, and U.S. congressmen pledge stronger ties with Liberia during state visit. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. This evening we begin in Cote d'Ivoire, where the presidential election set for October 25, 2025 is generating tension as the ruling RHDP and opposition's trade accusations. At a press conference in Abuja, Minister of State Kobinan Kwasi Adjomani and chief spokesperson for the RHDP sharply criticized former President Laurent Gbagbo for rejecting President Alassane Ouattara's bid for a fourth term. Sankli Janko reports.
Agumani argued that Gbagbo lacked credibility on the issue, noting that the former leader was absent during the adoption of the 2016 constitution, which created the country's third republic and reset presidential mandates. He recalled that the Constitutional Council had already ruled in 2020 that Ouattara's candidacy was valid under the new framework. He says, by engaging in defiance against the institutions of the republic and subtly inciting their supporters to commit acts of disorder and violence with the sole aim of preventing the holding of the election. The minister also attacked Gbagbo's political record since his return from the International Criminal Court, accusing him of sidelining allies such as Pascal Affi-N'Guessan and failing to reconcile with political figures like Simon Gbagbo. Adjomani confirmed that Ouattara's candidacy will be officially submitted to the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, on August 26, 2025. Again he speaks. We are speaking out today to say that enough is enough, and at some point this must come to an end. They have chosen to align themselves with the logic of chaos. In other words, a preference for disorder. In any case, the state of Cote d'Ivoire has strong institutions and will assume its responsibilities if necessary. Meanwhile, Gbagbo, who now heads the African People's Party Cote d'Ivoire PPACI, remains defiant. Speaking at a rally in Yapogon on August 16, the 80-year-old opposition leader, though removed from the electoral roll, vowed there would be no further term for Ouattara.
Sankli Janko filed a report. Still talking politics, but in Nigeria, where the opposition People's Democratic Party PDP has warned the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC that it will reject any results from the Kaura Namoda South State constituency by-election and does not reflect the will of the people. The opposition party accused the All Progressives Congress APC-led government of intimidating voters and manipulating the electoral process. Addressing journalists in Abuja, PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologun Nagba alleged that security agencies were deployed to harass voters and compromise the integrity of the poll held on August 16, 2025. He claimed that the election was marred by violence, including the assault of voters and the snatching of ballot boxes by armed personnel. Despite what he described as the PDP's overwhelming victory, the exercise was declared inconclusive in 5 polling units a decision the party views as a ploy to favor the APC.
The APC, in an operation which allegedly have the involvement of a minister from the Zamfara state, is currently deploying, and this is important, they're currently, as we speak, deploying full battalions of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Mobile Police Force, and the Directorate of State Services, DSS, from Abuja. They're currently deploying from Abuja and other parts of the country to just 5 polling units. 5 polling units, and you have those armaments going to war, as it were. The aim of this nefarious deployment is to force a siege mentality on the people of the constituency, intimidate, terrorize, and prevent them from coming out to exercise their constitutionally guaranteed rights to vote. Our party invites Nigerians and the international community to note that the APC's resort to setback intimidation and force in election is a clear signal of the creeping totalitarianism and one-party state, which the APC has stated as its cardinal goal in our country. The PDP and, of course, the people of Zamfara State will not accept any result that is at variance with the express will of the people, as evidenced by the already collated results from Kaura Namuda South 6 constituency.
Opposition PDP National Publicity Secretary Honorable Debo Olugun Nagba speaking there. Away from politics, and now as a leading agribusiness expert says, Africa cannot build resilient food systems without first addressing its fragmented integration. Managing partner of Sahel Consulting Temi Adegoregbe warns that the continent risks losing economic opportunities if African countries continue to trade more easily with Europe and Asia than among themselves. WDL Usman Umar reports.
At the heart of West Africa's food crisis lies not only insecurity and poor infrastructure, but also the deeper problem of disunity. Temi Adegoroye, managing partner at Sahel Consulting, says young Africans often look to Europe and America for opportunities rather than neighboring African states. He argues that unless leaders act, the African continent free trade area will remain an unrealized dream.
Every African country must take deliberate steps to actually address this fragmentation issue. We are too fragmented as a people. And, the interesting thing is that outside of Africa, they see us as one. So why can't we see each other as one? And I think we need to address that. If we address that, we will fix African, intra-African trade. Imagine the opportunity that lies in African countries actually trading amongst themselves. But today, many, exporters will tell you that it's actually easier to export from Nigeria to Europe or from Nigeria to Asia than to export from Nigeria to East Africa or to even other West African countries.
Beyond integration, insecurity continues to undermine agricultural transformation programs. Sahel Consulting, which works across West Africa, has seen entire farming projects disrupted by cattle rustling, kidnappings, and community clashes. Adegoroye insists that food security and national security must be addressed together.
We've had situations where a private seed company we're working with established extensive field in collaboration with some outgrowers within rural communities. And unfortunately, they were unable to access that field indefinitely because insecurity happened within the communities. A few persons were kidnapped and taken away, and no one could just access those communities. Because what that means is that the more we make efforts, towards really trying to transform our food systems to ensure we're food secure, we also have, critical insecurity factors that are actually, dragging us back. There's definitely things we must address.
The comments come ahead of the 2025 edition of the Food Systems Changemakers Conference in Nigeria, which will focus on sustainability, private sector partnerships, and putting smallholder farmers at the center of policy design. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's government has deported 51 more foreign nationals convicted of cybercrime activities. This brings the total number of convicted foreign nationals deported in the ongoing repatriation exercise to 102 since it commenced on Friday, August 15, 2025. According to a statement released by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Thursday, the exercise has been executed in collaboration with the Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS. The development represents the federal government's effort to crack down on cyber crimes nationwide. In addition, the latest group of foreign nationals repatriated includes 50 Chinese and 1 Tunisian. The statement reveals that the convicted nationals are among the 192 foreign nationals arrested during a sting operation by the Commission in Lagos. Recall that in a landmark raid by the EFCC, 792 suspects were arrested for crimes of high-level cybercrime activities and online romance scams. The suspects comprise 148 Chinese, 40 Filipinos, 2 Kazakstans, 1 Pakistani and 1 Indonesian, while the rest are Nigerians. The FCC explained that the ongoing exercise is a testament to its continued commitment to ensuring that Nigeria is not a place for all forms of cybercrime activities.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's take you to Ghana, where the police service has vowed to deal with troublemakers who will cause mayhem at next month's Akwetia by-election. According to the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, some 5,000 men and women in uniform will be deployed to the constituency to help keep the peace before, during and after the elections, which has been necessitated by the death of the MP for the area, Ernest Yokumi. Nadia Tete in Accra has more details in the following report.
Concerns over security for the upcoming Akwetia by-election have heightened following the chaos that marred the Ablekuma North rerun. The opposition New Patriotic Party, after a recent engagement with the Inspector General of Police and other political parties, signaled its readiness to defend its members during the polls. NPP National Organizer Henry Nanabwache stated that the party members will protect themselves if the need arises.
For the New Patriotic Party, we are going to protect ourselves. And self-protection is well stated within the laws of this country. So the Ghana police should give us that confidence that they have dealt with the Ablekuma North issue. We have 2 more weeks to go.
In response, Inspector General of Police Christian Tete Yohuno reiterated his commitment to ensuring peaceful and credible polls. He was speaking to police personnel undergoing high-risk training at Atremating in the eastern region.
We are very confident, and what Ghanaians will see, they will know that yes, there's no fear for Akwetia. I told the political parties that this will be one of the best and the most peaceful elections because we are fully prepared. If you come quietly to vote, we'll also receive you quietly. If you come quietly to observe, we'll also observe you quietly. But if you have any intention of causing trouble, we'll not allow you to go free. We'll change your location.
Meanwhile, security analyst Emmanuel Kutin is calling on political parties to exercise restraint and conduct themselves responsibly to avoid violence during the Akwetia by-election.
And I think the NPP and the NDC must all come together and put forward proposals so that when there are by-elections, we don't kind of inundate the constituency like we have seen in the past as if it is a life and death situation. For Christ's sake, it's just a matter of electing someone to represent the people of Akwetia. And we shouldn't be doing the kind of things we do.
As preparations intensify, all eyes remain on Akwetia, where stakeholders hope the polls will mark a turning point for peaceful electoral processes in Ghana. For WADR, Nadia Tete, Accra.
Back in Senegal, the government has voiced strong disapproval of sanctions imposed by the United States on 4 judges of the International Criminal Court ICC, including Senegalese magistrate Mama Mangjaye Nyang. Augustin Kohli has more details in this report.
The Senegalese government, in a statement, expressed astonishment at the U.S. decision, saying it undermines the independence of international justice. The government urged Washington to immediately lift the measures, which it described as a serious violation of judicial independence and of the right of ICC magistrates to carry out their mandate freely as instructed by the 125 states parties to the Rome Statute. Senegal, the first country to ratify the Rome Statute, reaffirmed its solidarity with George Nyang and the other targeted officials and reiterated its unwavering support for the ICC in delivering international criminal justice. The government also called on all ICC member states to stand firmly with the court and to ensure that its judges and staff can operate without fear, threat, or interference. The sanctions, announced in a joint statement by the U.S. State Department and Treasury Department, target French George Nicolas Yang-Guillot, Fijian George Nazat Shamin Khan, Senegalese George Mam Manja Yang, and Canadian prosecutor Kimberly Prost. Washington's move comes after the ICC issued arrest warrants in November against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Hamas leader Ibrahim al-Masri over alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity linked to the Gaza conflict.
Augustine Coley filed a report in neighboring Gambia. Its armed forces has confirmed the dismissal of 7 of its personnel for conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline. The Gambia Armed Forces, in a statement on Thursday, noted that the dismissals come into immediate effect. According to the JF, the dismissal was premised upon the conclusion of an internal investigation into serious breaches of operational conduct and military discipline. It added that the action follows the arrest of 2 privately owned speedboats and a yacht on the 14th of May and 5 and 12 of June 2025 linked to activities that compromise national security and the integrity of its naval operations. Among them were the unauthorized preparation and launching of 2 privately owned speedboats and cell site analysis and communications data revealing direct involvement of the dismissed personnel. In other news, not fewer than 13 people lost their lives following a landslide in the commune of Mania in the prefecture of Koyak in their region, west of the country, during the night of Wednesday to Thursday, according to a report from the National Agency for the Management of Emergencies and Humanitarian Disasters in Guinea. This landslide caused by heavy rainfall damaged more than 20 houses built at the foot of a mountain. Anguch said search and rescue operations that began overnight were still ongoing. A similar incident occurred at the same time in the Simbaya village area of Dubreka commune. The tragedy left 2 dead and 4 injured, according to the agency. Prime Minister Amadou Ubari visited Koya, the site of the landslide, and offered his condolences to all the bereaved families and victims. The head of government assured that all emergency services were mobilized to assist the injured and recover buried bodies. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting in Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Cote d'Ivoire's ruling party criticizes opposition Gbagbo over Ouattara's 4th term bid. Ghana police serves notice to deal with troublemakers during next month's by-election in Aquatia. Senegalese government defends national ICC judge targeted by U.S. sanctions. And still ahead in the news, U.S. congressmen pledge stronger ties with Liberia during state visit. We do have a guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, we are streaming live on wadr.org and do join a live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. In Burkina Faso, security forces have carried out an operation in the Futuri area of the eastern region in response to a terrorist attack on a military base. State media reports that the operation resulted in the death of about 100 fighters from armed groups. According to the AIB, the state media, the attack on the Futuri military detachment in eastern Burkina Faso was launched early in the morning of August 20. The agency said some 600 terrorists carried out the assault in several waves aimed at sowing chaos and seizing control of the base. But the Burkinabe forces foiled the attackers' plans, shooting down a kamikaze drone loaded with ammunition and neutralizing about 100 fighters from the armed groups. The AIB further reported the neutralization of 2 terrorist leaders operating in the east of the country. The operation also led to the seizure of war weapons, including assault rifles, motorcycles, and machine guns. We turn attention to Liberia, where 2 U.S. congressmen are currently in discussions with authorities aimed at strengthening ties between the United States and the country. U.S. Senator Jack Reed and Representative Gabe Amo, both from Rhode Island, arrived in Monrovia at the invitation of President Joseph Boakai. Their visit focuses on assessing the current state of affairs in Liberia and exploring opportunities for deeper cooperation between the two countries. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
Senator Reid and Representative Amon have been engaging in discussions with a variety of stakeholders, including government officials, representatives from non-governmental organizations, and national security experts. These talks focus on a range of issues, including economic development, healthcare, education, and infrastructure, among others. During one of their engagements, Senator Reid emphasized Liberia's upcoming role as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council.
I think we have great faith, their common sense, and their commitment to the values of the United Nations, which is a peaceful world in which we can cooperate with each other for the advancement of all people. And as a result, I think Liberia is going to be a real asset on the Security Council. The decency and dignity of the Liberian people are so impressive. So it's going to be a great thing. And it's also important to have on that council perspectives from all over the world.
Meanwhile, Representative Amon expressed his concerns regarding the challenges faced by Liberians and local implementers due to recent changes within USAID.
I know the state that Liberia finds itself in, and there's great promise and opportunity for forging greater ties. It's been a wonderful opportunity to hear directly from Liberians, for example, local implementers, around the challenges with regard to USAID no longer being what it once was, and to say there are real consequences. I've had some very difficult conversations with administration officials in hearings to say there are consequences, so how can we reverse some of those cuts?
Upon their return to the United States, Senator Reid and Representative Amon plan to brief their colleagues in Congress. They also aim to mobilize the Liberian American community in Rhode Island and other regions to support Liberia in various capacities. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
For our guest interview this evening, we continue to analyze the social, political, and economic situation in Mali 5 years on after the military took over the helm of affairs. Recall Monday, August 18, 2025 marked the 5th anniversary of the military takeover, a move that came with a series of promises, including the commitment to improve rights and freedoms. Today, August 21, WDR focuses on the state of human rights and the political landscape in Mali. For more insight on that, we're joined by Isidore Nguele, president of the Organization Against Torture.
First of all, the security hasn't been restored, and that's not the case. People are still being killed, kidnapped, women being raped in some parts of the territory. And despite that, they're being attacked by their own soldiers and supported by foreign military groups from Russia that are accused by several human rights groups of committing massive crimes. These crimes haven't been investigated by the authorities, despite several reports establishing that they were intentionally committed. A lot of people demonstrated in the streets in 2020 against the previous civilian regime, mainly because they were seeking the fundamental freedom of opinion, of dissenting opinion, and they could even demonstrate in the street at that time. Today, it's not the case. People cannot guarantee the right to demonstrate. I mean, leaders of political parties cannot anymore operate. They have been, for all of them, denied operations, and media cannot cover the political parties' work. So it's really worrisome that at the time people were criticizing the civilians for attacking fundamental freedoms, and they kind of welcomed the military with the mandate to restore democracy. And today, this is not the case, and it's even worse than than it was before.
You spoke of political parties which have been suspended by the military in power, including political activities. What impact do you think this suspension of political parties and associations will have on the right to political participation in Mali?
I mean, let's say the current authorities have not withdrawn from democracy. They didn't. They maintained the constitution of Mali. They maintained engagement in all international treaties that Mali have ratified. So let's assume that we're supposedly still in a democratic system, because they haven't said that they don't want to be democratic anymore. So based on that, every citizen has the right to express a political opinion, whether it is supporting the people in power or dissenting. And they have the right to do it collectively, which means to create and exercise political activities. This is what is written clearly in the Malian constitution. It is written in all the treaties that Mali has ratified, both at the regional and international level. You can't be in the power with your military attires and the guns and imposing people and threatening them, claiming that this is a democracy. This is not a democracy. You have to assume that you are in something else.
Now, the current head of the junta in Mali, General Assimi Goïta, has been granted another 5 years by the transitional parliament, and it's renewable. And tell me, with this next 5 years on the agenda, what do you think will happen to the practice of human rights in Mali?
I mean, this is not the first time we see military taking power and trying to remain in power. This is something we've seen in Africa for a long time. For some, it has not lasted long. For some others, has lasted. But one thing that is common is that it has always ended, and sometimes badly. I think we don't need to get there. I think it's good that the Malians leaders sit together and stop this. But the people who have granted the current leaders another 5 years and renewable are not people that were chosen democratically. The parliament is not an elected parliament. It's also a pick and choose, and people are protecting their seats. So this is not democracy anyway. And even if it was an African democracy, something that wants to be distanciated from the European one or whatever, then this is not how Africans do their things.
Isidore Ngwele is president of the World Organization Against Torture. In sport news, the CAF African Nations Championship enters its knockout phase this Friday, August 22. For the first time in its history, this tournament is co-hosted by 3 East African countries, Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, which have all qualified for the quarterfinals. Kenya will open the CHAN 2024 quarterfinals in Nairobi on Friday, taking on Madagascar in a highly anticipated match at the Moi Sports Center, Kasarani. Tanzania will then play Morocco at home in Dar es Salaam at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. The following day, Saturday, August 23, the program will continue with Sudan taking on Algeria and Zanzibar before the final quarterfinals between Uganda and Senegal in Kampala. These matches represent a unique opportunity for the host teams to shine in front of their fans in an electric atmosphere, a direct result of the mass support throughout the group stage. And from August 22 to September 7, 2025, the Women's Volleyball World Championship will take place in Thailand, bringing together the world's best team. Africa will be well represented with 4 ambitious nations: Egypt, Kenya, Cameroon, and Algeria. This participation demonstrates the rise of African women's volleyball, while the hope of pushing its limits and achieving new achievements on the international scene. And that's it on this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Sheikh Jai for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok, at WDR English. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a flagship environment program, Enviroscope. I am Imo Edet. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
WADR